We could be like dancing.
Yeah, that we're going to do. We're going to dance while it starts.
Welcome to What the Biz, where we talk about building successful businesses, balancing life, and all the WTB in between. With your hosts,
I'm Bridget Vector.
And I'm Dan Prochko.
Yeah, so I decided today we're going to try and do video to put on YouTube, and I don't have an intro video, so now I'm feeling really self-conscious about that whole intro right there. But anyway.
Why? It's us. Isn't that what sells us?
I don't know. Listeners, what do you think? Do we sell ourselves? I think we do. What's up? How you doing?
Oh, not too bad. I have to laugh at that intro today, actually. The whole WTB in between. You know, when you have those weeks and you feel like you are just living all of the WTB. Like,
yeah,
what is happening?
Yeah, I think next week is going to be that for me, but that's a whole other thing. I'm traveling next weekend, so I've just got and it's Labor Day weekend, and so it's the start of the month for all my clients. I got to get all their stuff in before we even leave. I don't have the weekend to get any last minute stuff done. You know, lot of things. You know, it's the start of Apple selling season. You know, so there's like. That whole launch has to happen while I'm traveling. So I'm just like worried, you know, that's going to be my next week. But sounds like you're going through it a little bit.
Yeah, it's just a week. It's fine. I mean, we all get through it, right? It's the life of an entrepreneur. And it'll all be fine as the building is burning behind me.
I mean, that is the truth, though, for an entrepreneur. It's like you solve one fire after another until like, oh, hey, you're a success. You know, like that's how that works. Which I think is a great segue because today we are going to talk about making sure you're focusing on the right thing is one way to talk about this. Another way to talk about it is to say, hey, tools don't solve a process problem. I think you had a good one, actually, when we were prepping. You said, what did you say? It's the cost of measuring the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. It's all of those things combined. I'm going to set the stage here, okay, for this. All right. So we have a new client starting soon, okay, and I'm really excited to work them. It's awesome, but the whole thing was in jeopardy actually because when we first started talking with them, they came to us asking for automation. They came asking and talking about how. You know, they didn't think sales team or sales wasn't working quite right. And they were wanting some automation to help make it work better, et cetera. Red flag one. And we'll talk about why that's a red flag. But they have a business coach. And so I sat down and talked with that business coach prior to, you know, that client starting with us. They wanted to vet us, et cetera, which is awesome. I love meeting new coaches and talking with them and getting to know them. But in talking with them, we learned about the company some more that the owner just didn't share and didn't know how to share, I think might be a good way to put it too. But we learned like, no, sales are like the salesperson and the people, the team, they're great, good skills. And it turns out it was really like a lead flow issue and a quality of those leads. And so one, we're not doing this whole huge like automation project. Whether or not they're going to go that route in the future is another thing. It's just premature. So we learned all this stuff and it was like, no, this is all overkill. All you need is quality leads and more of them. And your company will be, you know, in a much better place. And so it just got me thinking about like, you know, how we're so quick to want to find a tool or a silver bullet rather than doing that work to understand what we're actually trying to accomplish. It's really easy to say, blame a person on the team that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and we need to get rid of them and replace them, and that's going to solve our issues. Or if we just had this one platform, you know, this new tool, you know, the shiny new tool came out. I mean, AI has come out. Let's just blame AI for everything. AI's come out. I'll just have AI do it. You know, if I just paid for AI, everything would be better. My content would be better, et cetera. And no, that's like, not the case ever. That is never the case, in my opinion. I'm going to go really strong on this one. It is never the case. Mm-hmm. And so I just thought it was a really interesting thing in that realm and worth exploring today.
No, I mean, honestly, I think it's almost a default knee-jerk reaction, right? Of thinking, okay, I need a new tool or a new CRM or a new person or a new bookkeeper or a new marketer, right? But a lot of the times you're absolutely right. The problem isn't the person or the platform, it is the process that's going on behind the scenes with that. We experience this with our clients sometimes. There's something inside their internal process that we don't necessarily know about. And if it weren't for conversations, they almost don't realize that it can easily be fixed and no longer be a headache. But it takes conversation. And thankfully, you got to talk to their business coach in this situation to uncover it.
Yeah.
But, what happens when a business owner doesn't have somebody to rely on to have that conversation? Oftentimes, they're choosing to maybe fix the wrong thing. And then they're still going to have that problem.
Yeah, I can think back to a time where, say, video editing or other things, and I'm just like, man, I'd be such a better video editor if I just paid for full-on Adobe Premiere, the high-end Final Cut, etc. And lo and behold, I get into it and I suck just as much as I did before. Like it just not. And honestly, the end product took longer to put out. It's not like my filming got any better. It's not like the editing was any snappier. It was just, I had this expensive tool now that had all the buttons and gizmos and gadgets. And, I'd sit back and go, why does it still suck? Oh, because it's got nothing to do with the tool at all. Most of the time, I would say it has nothing to do with the tool. And so, I was really happy in this situation that we were able to save a job, honestly. I don't think they were going to actually get fired because the coach was going to be, what are you doing? This person's great. It's got nothing to do with that. So, but to be there and to help this person thrive is really the important part. And so as we're all entrepreneurs, we get into what we do. We're not experts at everything, and so sometimes it's like my clients being cleaning clients, they're good at cleaning and training their team on cleaning. They're not experts in marketing usually they're not experts in bookkeeping,
Mm-hmm.
And so or sales for that matter. And so when it comes time to hold their team accountable, and I've fallen into this, there's things that I'm not an expert on, maybe somebody's responsible for it, but I'm not totally sure how to hold them accountable for it. And then I measure the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. Sales, believe it or not, isn't always about just closing dollars. There's a lot of technical, actual process elements that one has to do in sales that lead to those dollars. And so we can actually track those actions. And we're not really going to go down like what those actions should be. That's not what this episode is about. But this owner or this business didn't have a way of doing that, of being like, oh, are we making those first phone calls within the first 5 minutes? Are we following up, at our correct pace? Are we getting those touchbacks? Are we getting the quote on time? Are we getting these things, et cetera? These are the things, some of them for a sales professional of what should be tracked to see, are they doing the right things? And it doesn't seem like they were being, tracked really well. And so they thought it's the salesperson is the issue, But if you had listened to recorded phone calls or just looked at the notes in the CRM, if they even kept them, et cetera, you'd probably find they're doing great, and it has nothing to do with that. And so it just got me thinking, because we have a process for how we go about deciding whether we need a new tool or not. I just thought I'd share kind of my 3 steps and just see what you thought about this and where you're at. But my first step is, if something isn't working, I always go back to the process. Is that like where you start too?
Mm-hmm. It's probably the hardest spot to go back to, though, because if something isn't working, you're probably already to the point of frustration and you're not able to instantly step to the that it's the process.
Yeah.
So it's probably been an issue for a while. But yes, I mean, tools and people don't save a broken process. You still gotta have a good process.
Yeah. And it sounds so boring. It's horrible. It's just like, oh, I got to go back to the step 1, do this, step 2, do that, step 3, do this. But that's where we go. We go back and we literally have a Google Doc for many, many of our processes. I'm hoping all of them at this point, because I can find them all now. I haven't not been able to find one yet, which is great. But I go to that process and I'm like, okay, let me follow it. Let me see what's going on. Why did I run into an issue, or why are we running into an issue? And so as a team, as a group, or alone, like we'll just go through that process to see where is that roadblock of why did this error happen, or is there something here that is leading toward a negative outcome. And if the first thing we find is there is no process, well, hey, we've kind of found the issue. And so we always go back to that piece and map it out. Here's what should be happening, here's when it should be happening, and here's how it should be happening. Like those three things need to get defined. And so once we have that in place, we then move on to our second step, which is do it manually. I mean, I know that sounds horrible, especially if it's just like posting 5 times a day on social. I mean, yeah, it totally sucks. But if you don't do it manually, if there are any issues in the process, they get exacerbated once you go into automation.
Because you don't know it's broken. Like
right.
you don't even know if it's gonna do what you want it to do if you haven't done it or mapped it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like do it manually, do it for a few weeks or for enough time where you can tell it is or isn't working, and you can iron out all the kinks. Then at that point, it's where we go, okay, now we can put it in place and find a tool. At this point, like I haven't even talked about a tool, it's like if I'm emailing, I'm emailing out of my inbox. If I'm, which honestly for marketing, you shouldn't do. You should go into a platform, but you don't want to use all their bells and whistles. You just want to keep it super basic. So if you go into MailChimp, if you're sending a newsletter weekly, just send it weekly from MailChimp. Don't do the whole automation. Don't do any of this RSS or tools or journeys. Just send them out normally every week and just see what that process is like. Because within it, you'll find ways you'll just find the things that matter is really what I'm getting at. And so when you do it manually, you get to know that process so well that when you do start looking for a tool, if that's the key piece, or if you're changing tools, or if you're looking to automate something, it becomes really obvious what has to get automated. And it becomes really obvious if it isn't working or is working for that matter. So that's really like my 3-step process. Map it, do it manually, then find the tool. Because you'll understand all the criteria that you need for that tool at that point. Yeah.
We're very similar in that regard. And maybe this just goes without saying, but I like to take it a step back to like, what is the actual outcome that I'm trying to get out of this? Because I've seen traps get fallen into where we think we need a process, or we think a process is broken, but we're trying to write a process for something that isn't even the outcome that we want. So like we're kind of doing work for nothing in some ways.
Yeah.
So like I like to just say, wait, pause. Like, what are we trying to get out of this? Like, is it something that's even broken, or are we just like spinning our wheels for nothing? And I think I've seen this. So just speaking, because obviously our industry is accounting and QuickBooks is our tool. I can't tell you the amount of times that I have heard QuickBooks doesn't work. Like I've heard this so many times. And yes, I have my own frustrations inside of QuickBooks because just like any other software, sometimes something doesn't work the way you want it to. But it isn't a QuickBooks problem. It is either whoever's trying to use it doesn't know it, they don't know accounting, or they don't have a process. And it always comes down to the process. Like if you aren't entering things correctly, no, QuickBooks doesn't work because you're not doing it correctly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like to start with the outcome and also kind of feel like, are we chasing a false fix? And I have a few things that I kind of go through with this, where if I've replaced the same tool or person more than once and the problem still exists, then I'm fixing the wrong thing. Like I'm chasing the wrong fix. If you feel like you're kind of doing all the things, all the right things, but nothing has changed at all for the outcome that you're trying to get, you're probably chasing like a false fix in that. And along the side, if you have a team, right? If they're busy, but there's no results, there's something broken inside of a process that you need to go back to. Well, what's the outcome that you want? And to like wrap it all out, for us, we start with the outcome, we map that process, we hit the manual side because I love that, right? You're not just throwing a tool at something that you don't even know what you need the tool to do. But that makes it very easy at the end of it to have a success metric because you know what you want your outcome to be. And then you have a way to measure if this new process actually worked to achieve what you were going for in the first place.
Yeah. And I think that's even, for me, it's even more apparent when it comes to people. Because we hire people, yes, to get results, but we have to, it's not just about us and about our business. It is about them and building them up. And so, I mean, to your point, if I'm thinking about replacing a person, have I made sure that I've given them everything that they need to succeed first and that we're actually measuring the right things? Because, you know, for this example of like that I started with of sales, and I have another one that I can share, but like for sales is like, yeah, dollars closed is great. But are they making the calls that they're supposed to? Are they following up the way they're supposed to? And have I trained them and given them, you know, the ability to do that and held them accountable for it? You know, did I give them the skills and what they need to make it done? Because the answer is no. For anything before that dollar amount result, then it's not their problem. It's not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I've just gotten much slower to fire recently in my brain. And it's been like, cool, let's hire faster. Okay, let's make sure we get those criteria in place to hire faster, but then let's train them really well and make sure they have everything they need. And then we've given them time on that accountability scale before we deem that they're the issue, because it's usually not. It's a process. But I said I had another example. So just to put this in another context is had another client talk to me about, hey, we've got these 3 platforms that we use. And number 3, I've had for 6 months, but I've not even used it. And the funny thing is that 3rd platform, they consulted with us before getting it. And we're like, hey, I think I need this. It's going to help me with XYZ. And I told them, I think it's overkill because you got a platform that kind of does that, but you're not even holding to a process yourself. So getting this tool isn't going to help you because you're already not following a process. They got the tool anyway, and it's 6 months later, and they haven't even used it. And so now they're evaluating, should I keep that tool? You know, instead of people, we're now talking about this tool and this platform. And the answer is no, you shouldn't keep it. You haven't done the first 2 steps, which is process and then do it yourself and hold to it to see what outcomes you get from that process. And that helps you identify what tool to get. So it's just, it's funny. We all like shiny things. It's really easy to be like, oh, I need that new shiny thing. Or, oh my God, that thing does this. I could totally use that. And then, you know, you just don't, you know? So, yeah.
I was in a group that somebody was talking about their CRM, right? So they had been through a couple of different CRMs because in their mind, it was not working. And so the coach inside of this group actually said, let's map out the funnel. So just like what we're talking about, right? You map out the process. The form, great. Automations, great. Like the things are all firing. So they took a step backwards and they're like, is this the offer? Like, are you stuck that the offer isn't working? And it came out like at the end of all of this, they didn't need a new tool, obviously changing. I think they had changed like 4 times at this point. They hadn't spent the time to validate their audience, their messaging, and the offer that they were giving. So that's true. A whole nother example of, you may think it's one thing, but it very well could be, when you map it out, something completely different.
Totally different.
And you're going to keep having the problem. And I just think about all the time and resources that they spent changing systems.
I know. Oh my gosh.
All of that.
Well, think about it. We had the same thing. We talked about us. I had the same issue. I had the exact same issue. I launched a funnel and a whole campaign on one topic and one idea and got nothing. I mean, literally nothing. Now, luckily, I didn't go thousands of dollars in on this. I mean, it was like $100 for just testing. But by that point, I should have had some. And it was just like, what is going on? I reached out to you, reached out to some others. And that was the exact thing that got brought up to me, is like, hey, maybe you're just down the funnel a little too far. Maybe we just need to go up just I don't know, try something else. And that's exactly it. And so we A/B tested something else, and we find something that now we're getting leads at less than 50 cents a lead. And it's just like, what? Like, that's exactly it. But what I could have done is I could have taken my whole email system, my entire like website funnel system. I could have taken my automation system and just trashed it and done something new, but kept the same offer. What would happen then? The same thing. I would have gotten no results because it's not the platform. It's not the tool. It's always the process or like we're saying here, it's the topic and the thing that resonates with the market. There's other things at play that you got to look at. And it's okay to reach out to others. It's okay to reach out to colleagues, to us, if you need that third party eye, from the outside looking down and in, really valuable.
I think the outside perspective can actually bring clarity that you're so far in the weeds that you just can't get that same clarity. And another example that we see is business owners that are ready to either fire an assistant or can the accounting software, right? And typically it's because they don't know how to manage it. Their assistant isn't an accountant, and they can't fix processes because they don't actually know what needs to be happening. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of avenues where things can go wrong, and it's so costly to be chasing the wrong fix.
100%. And in that exact example, if it's like, oh, well, AI can help me with it. But if AI does it wrong, now you don't know how to fix it. You don't know where it messed up along the way. Oh my God, let's not even.
AI is not perfect, people.
No, it is so not perfect. Cool. I think it's a great place to end it here today. I mean, just make sure you're measuring the right things, or take a step back and measure more, and just to see, are we focusing where we should be? And honestly, if you're thinking tool is the problem, then the number one thing you should do is just stop and go back to the process, because it's not the tool. It's never the tool, actually, because the tool only helps you execute on the process and thing you're trying to accomplish. So always go back to it. What do you got coming up next? What's up?
We are going to be diving into some QuickBooks cleanups and diagnostic reviews, some pre-tax time work here, because it's the perfect time to do it. Summer's coming to an end. Things have probably been neglected, and before we know it, January is going to be here.
Very cool. No, I like it. I like doing some pre-planning and some pre-work ahead of time. It makes what comes later easier. That's for sure. Yes. Yeah. No, we, I don't know if I said at the start, but we've got a couple new clients starting up, one upgrading, one new client. So we've got those onboarding next week and in a couple weeks. So prepping on those, trying an improved process again here, which is great. Improving the onboarding process yet again, which is wonderful. We've got it mapped out already. So now it's just figuring out what tools make it easier and easier and easier here for us, and what steps we can get rid of. So I'm excited about that, because I've talked about before how our onboarding has taken 4 hours. We've gotten it down to 2. I'm really hoping we can get it down to like 1, which would be awesome. So yeah, a lot of improvements that we're working on over here. So yeah.
Awesome. And building AI bots.
I am building AI bots. We should talk about that one of these times, because it's been a lot of fun working on those. Not as easy as everybody thinks it is. They're not that easy. But anyway, that sounds like something interesting you want to hear about. Hit up whatthebiz.com. That is our website. There is a place on the site where you can submit an idea for us if you want us to cover it. And there's even a place for you to submit your voicemail if you want it. I should probably show you that, to be honest. Okay. So on the site right here at the bottom, see send voicemail, you can go right to it and just start recording a voicemail for us. And then we'll put your voice right here on air. Or if you're looking at an episode on the site, here in the sidebar, there's a share your idea. We'd love to get your idea. Just send us a message and we will explore it and see if we can cover it and help you out there. Besides that, leave us a review wherever you listen. We are all over the place and would love to hear from you about what you found valuable, but not really just for us, but for others who are looking for the podcast. If you found something great in today's episode, just leave a review wherever you're listening, whether it be Apple, Spotify, about what your big takeaway was that helps everybody else understand, there's something cool here. I need to listen in. You're going to help somebody build their next $1 million business because you left that review. That's the key thing here. So with that, we hope to hear from you, and we'll see you on the next one.